So be water, my friend. Let's move on to the next panel, where we will speak to 3 startups. And for good measure, we throw an investor's voice into the mix. Please welcome Jinmyeong from MyRealTrip, Rajeev Kumar from Mystifly, Nicholas Cox from Velocity Ventures, and Stephanie Chai from Luxe Nomad, talking about forging a new future. Hello, everyone. How are you?
Good,
Hello,
thank you.
everyone. Good, thank you.
We're on
Thanks
a
for
sort of
having
series
us.
of this embodied heads right now. Today on our WiT Adventure Week. And, I'm just going to, did I say WiT Adventure Week? Because it does feel like an adventure. So I'm going to start off with show you a selection of images, right? And I'm going to ask you each to pick the one that most describe your experience to date. Is it A, B, C, or D? Jinmyeong, can I start with you? Jinmyeong.
I think that skydiving most reflects what my experience has been like this year in the COVID-19 pandemic. It feels like while having a pleasant business class meal on a flight towards Paris, someone suddenly grabbed my back and threw me out of the plane.
That's true. To the audience, you could type into the chat as well, your choice of, the image that you feel
Okay.
best resemble your. So to the people in the chat. So Nicholas, which would you pick?
I really like the guy who's going through the ice fall on the ladder, the mountain climber. That's what this feels like, is a huge challenge, and hopefully there'll be a massive sense of achievement when we get to the top.
Yeah, when we get to the summit. Yay, yes. Rajeev, what would you pick?
Yeah, I resonate with that, the image B, very similar feeling, but I think there's also this, climb with uncertainty, or, a ladder that's possibly leading you to nowhere in some sense at times, but with the hope that it's going to take you to a certain pinnacle or a peak. So I think in all sense, I relate to the image B.
Okay, Stephanie, what would you pick?
Well, I'm left with C or D. I'd probably pick D. It has certainly been a roller coaster of a ride, but at the same time, I think there are some silver linings and some opportunities in COVID. And I think my team and we've gone from being really like, oh my God, what just happened? Like Tao, our business we worked so hard for has suddenly gone back to square one. But at the same time, I see a lot of opportunities on the horizon if you're clever about it. So it could be really exciting when you're going up the roller coaster.
Yeah, roller coasters are fun. I mean, some people are so addicted to it, they don't want to do it again and again, So the image in C, I don't know if you guys know that, but that's, jumping off the vines in Vanuatu. And that is supposed to be sort of the origins of bungee jumping. This guy's just jump off, this tower in Vanuatu, with vines. So I think that's how I feel, actually. Putting on this experience right now is I pick C. All right, so let's break the discussion into different chapters. So the first chapter is survival, and basically the first tenet of survival is cash and enough runway to last a long winter. And so MyRealTrip, you raised 30 on July 29th. Mystifly, you raised 3.3 million. And Stephanie, you raised funds from existing shareholders as well. So scale of 1 to 10, right? 1 being the easiest. Give me a score of how easy or how hard was it to raise funds. And I'm going to go to Jinmyeong first. What's your score?
I would give it over a 9. 3 months before the pandemic, we started to consider launching Series D funding. But at the time, Donggan, the CEO, and I could hardly imagine the possibility of failing to close the deal. However, after the pandemic was declared, we had to gauge the possibility that we might not be able to get new capital at the right time. We were fully aware of painful decisions we would have to make if our funding failed. We did not want to face those challenging situations, so we put all of our effort into the funding. However, in our investment contract, there were no special offers and no unusual clauses. Instead, we did our best to persuade our investor of 3 things. First, people will travel after the pandemic. The virus might be able to suppress people's desire to travel, but it cannot get rid of it. We strongly stress that the market will revive. And second, thanks to the successful prevention of the spread of the virus in Korea, Korean people can currently travel domestically, which means that we can maintain a certain level of cash inflow through our domestic business. And lastly, and the most importantly, we also stress that MyRealTrip is the best company to endure this crisis and will maintain the leading position in Korea even after the pandemic.
Cool.
Yeah.
So basically, you managed to sort of stave off a life and death moment by assuring three things rather than giving away, your business. So that's great. Now I'm going to go to Rajeev. How hard was it to raise that 3.3 million, Rajeev? I mean, you're in the air business. It's tough.
Yeah. So Siew and I would split this into two. One is the difficulty in terms of raising the money itself, and the second is raising adequate money. How difficult it was for us to get to that number that was important for us. So a 6 on possibly raising and a 9 possibly in terms of getting to the money that we wanted. So we started engaging our investors sometime towards mid-February, and we were sharing updates on how we were progressing through the COVID crisis. But back then it was more about our China business and some parts of Asia. So truly a first conversation around raising an interim round. We were also looking at a Series B, possibly July, August, timing it with a couple of other milestones. But then a true interim fundraise to kind of manage the crisis was initiated sometime during mid-March, and it took us a few weeks of conversations. But all along, I think there was clear commitment to make this happen. But like I said, the difficulty and challenge was all about how much of that commitment will translate into the money that we needed. I think the combination.
So
of both.
two levels of difficulty. Stephanie, was it easier for you, given that you are in sort of alternative accommodation, which seems to be sort of one of the the lights right now? Stephanie, how hard was it?
I mean, to be honest, we were starting to do our new round of fundraising in February, sort of after Chinese New Year. And then we saw COVID get progressively worse. So we put our external fundraising on hold and we went internally to shareholders. For me, it was easy because a lot of my shareholders have known us for a long time. And what we did was really cut our costs, come up with a plan which was very lean, that showed shareholders for an incremental investment, we could keep the company going at least till early 22. So I think that was important to shareholders, that you can put in some more cash into the company, at least it keeps going throughout the crisis, but it's not a material huge burn where you're sort of left wondering, like, is this going to go somewhere? Is this going to make it?
Yeah.
So it was relatively easy. It was maybe difficult with one shareholder who was new and really wanted to delve into the numbers. It's a mixed bag. I had another shareholder who I had a 5-minute phone call with, and he just said, sure, this is the amount. So, fundraising is always a varied experience.
Yeah, I think one thing the three of you have in common is that you are very established businesses. Like you're not a new startup, right? So you have people who know you and you have built that relationship. So let's go to Nicholas, who is a investor and Velocity Ventures. Why have you chosen to set up a travel and hospitality focus fund during travel's most inglorious moments? Are you crazy or what, Nicholas?
We think that the situation is going to give rise to some great investment opportunities, and I don't just mean that from a valuation or vulture-like approach, but we also think that there's going to be an incredible round of innovation that comes out of what we're seeing here. And we're an early stage investor. We invest in seed and Series A. And so we want to be like the first institutional check in. And so having innovation is what we need in order to do our job. And we think that there's going to be some amazing opportunities in terms of innovation that comes out of this.
Okay, good to have an optimistic view on that. So can I ask you just one word from each of you? Like, what's what's your secret weapon to survival? And if I can ask the audience to also type into the chat, like what do you think is your secret weapon to survival this year? So Rajeev, let's begin with you. What's your secret weapon?
I wish I could say a 4-letter word, luck, but then um, I'm pretty inspired by Dennis Waitley, who said determination gives to keep going in spite of roadblocks that lay before you. I think that's something which you don't really want to give up at any cost, no matter what. And I also think there's no alternative to transparency and honesty. And I think just kind of making it very transparent at every point in time to your stakeholders, internal, external, I think just makes it easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Stephanie?
I think clarity. Even though so much is uncertain, you can't really do a budget forecast, etc. Our vision as a company is still the same. We want to be the starwood of the villa industry. We've done 2 acquisitions. That has not changed. And I think if anything, this might be the best time for us.
Cool. And Jinmyeong, one word?
I think the one word with MyRealTrip, we have been built all of our experience and all of our services together over the years. So we have truly grown together. So I think that with our team, we strongly believe that we can overcome this crisis successfully.
Right. So Nicholas, I will ask you as an investor, right? What is the secret weapon that separates startups that survive versus those that don't?
I think it's resilience.
Resilience,
we've heard earlier that the time frames that people are talking about is 23, 24 to get back to 2019 levels, and I think it's going to be a pretty bumpy ride to get there. And so it's going to take some resilience for early stage founders to get through that. So that would be my take.
Yeah, I mean, as hard as it has been, it feels like actually we're probably only at the beginning of this ride. Whether it's a roller coaster or a climb out the snowy mountain or a skydive, we're just at the beginning of it. So let's talk about right, because that is clear that you have to be very quick to adapt. And Jinmyeong, I mean, MyRealTrip was really for Korean travelers going abroad, and all that. And so you had to do a big pivot to domestic. How hard was that pivot, like going, full out on domestic?
Actually, we did have our domestic travel business even before the pandemic. However, as you mentioned, our priority had been the outbound travel market. We noticed a significant room for improvement in terms of both variety and quality of domestic product selections. So at the end of February, right before the pandemic, we only had around 600 domestic products. But since if we don't have any domestic products, there's no reason for travelers to visit us. So over the last few months, we've reached out to more than 1,000 partners in the fields of tours and activities, local accommodations, and car rental companies in Korea. So now we have more than 10,000 domestic travel products to our customers. And based on those products, our domestic reservation have grown tenfold compared to the same period last year. And the total reservation also recovered 40% to the pre-pandemic level.
Wow. So that's a major ramp up from 600 products to 10,000. I mean, that is execution at speed. Okay. Rajeev, I mean, it's a bloodbath for airlines. They're estimated to lose 100 billion this year. Could be more. So what's your out? Because air is all about cross-border travel. Is domestic tourism enough for you?
No, I think as a global business, we have the opportunity of being in multiple domestic markets. So I think with a single domestic, it isn't really enough. But the fact that as Mystifly, we have an opportunity to work with different players in the travel space and different domestic markets, that is giving certain hope. But this year is not really, it's a washout year for sure from a total volume of business transactions. The fact that you said IATA is going to lose that kind of money, 2023 is where it looks like that we will get back to a 2019 level. So I think We're just trying to tap into whatever is available to us, expand on the opportunities with new customers, seeing how we can expand on each of our existing customers, but invest heavily into product and tech. I mean, this year has been more about now focusing on the internal product and tech.
Right. Okay. And Stephanie, I think we said it again. Everybody's been talking about private accommodation, Airbnb going public this year, and everybody's saying it could be a very, very successful IPO. So, what trends are you seeing?
Of course, because we are fundamentally in places like Thailand, Indonesia, and Japan, Niseko, it's purely domestic at the moment. And then we did see, I think, over the summer, a huge drop off of people booking for future bookings because of the uncertainty. I think what we will see is, now that everyone's working from home, you will see more people coming to Bali for 3 months, because I've already got requests from like the US, maybe it's a bit because of Donald Trump, of people looking to escape as soon as Bali opens. So I think there's a change, and maybe like instead of just a short-term break, they will become longer. And yes, I do think private accommodation will do well because you don't have to bump into anyone else at the pool.
Yeah, certainly the trend towards longer stays, and then people are talking about this trend of vacations, for example.
Yeah.
And Thailand, Thailand allowing that long-term visa for the winter, because if they don't open borders, that long-term visa is going to be quite critical for the businesses in Phuket and Samui, right?
Well, I think they need to fix that long-term visa because there are 20 steps to get it. But it's a step in the right direction. Hopefully the Thai government makes further amendments. Right now it's a long time to get the long visa.
I know, that's the thing. It's so complex to get anything done. Even if you just want to fly in a green lane, it's just so difficult right now. So Nicholas, I mean, have you seized any opportunities as yet? Have you made some bets, and what areas are you making bets in?
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of stuff, innovative stuff coming out of this. There's the obvious ones like touchless check-in, cleaning in hotels, things like that. But some of the less obvious things, certainly the work from home change has given rise to the digital nomad, where post being able to travel, there's going to be a lot of companies that accept the fact that their workforce can work from remote locations. So we're seeing a lot of innovation around facilitating that and allowing people to work remotely in different locations, even subscription models where you're getting companies providing a B2B service to allow their people to work in different locations. So we're finding that pretty interesting. Loyalty is another area that a lot of entrepreneurs see up for grabs. With airlines effectively being grounded, the whole loyalty platform that they've provided is, I think, up for grabs, and so we're seeing quite a bit of entrepreneurial activity around loyalty. And then in F&B, which is one of the other areas that we invest in, the digitization process has been accelerated as a result of COVID. And we're seeing a lot of interesting platforms that are allowing restaurants to do stuff with their data and to link the various platforms together that they work from. So, yeah, they're the investment themes that we're focusing on at the moment.
Right. Food definitely has been a breakout star, and on Wednesday we will actually have a session all around food tech. That's been sometimes you wish that you were not in travel but in food right now. So now let's go to the future now, and I'm going to show you 3 images again, and get you to pick the one that best illustrates your view of the future. A being the black hole, and then B, that's the rainbow over where I live in Singapore. Actually, that's sort of the area where I live, and then C, lightning strike. Which one do you pick? What's your view of the future? Let's begin with Jinmyeong.
I think I would pick A, the black hole, because I don't see the future in negative way, but I think the important thing is that it's really hard to predict what future will be like at this moment. So that's the reason why I picked the black hole, and I hope that the new huge opportunity will be laid on beyond the black hole.
Excellent. Stephanie?
I picked B. I have to be optimistic as an entrepreneur. But I think, we're lucky to live in a day and age where governments have a lot of financial tools at their disposal, as we've seen, with bailouts and things like that in UK and US. So I think we're in a better position than we were perhaps in the Great Depression. I know there was a lot of talk earlier that this is the Great Depression. Hopefully we don't see that happen. But on the upside, I do think maybe the world needed a break, and we were really speeding ahead, and we were, maybe we all needed a little bit of a break.
Right.
It's
so
not
have
such
you
a
had
bad
a
thing.
good break? Have you had a good break the last 6 months?
you know what I have learned, having started the company in 2012, I always sort of maintained a 6-day-a-week work week, and I think recently in the last couple of months I sort of said, well, it's okay to have the weekend off. And we're revising our company rule book to say, we still believe in working hard and working smart, but I think perhaps more of a balance is essential as well.
All right. Okay. And Nicholas, which one do you pick?
Oh, I'm definitely B. I like the rainbow, and I particularly like the fact that the end of that rainbow is about where Changi Airport is. So hopefully that's all our pot of gold.
Okay, that's a good one. I'm so bad at geography that I didn't realize that the rainbow was ending up in Changi Airport. All right, Rajeev, which one do you pick?
Yeah, I think as an optimistic entrepreneur would definitely go for all obvious reasons. I think it's difficult to take travel out of any individual. I think this is definitely a crisis, and we will get past this. It's only I don't want to say a matter of time, but for sure, there's a lot for an individual. Brings in a cultural understanding. There's adventure. There's a lot of deep connection that every individual has with respect to the experiences that we all get out of travel. So it's very difficult, I think, for this to be in a state of where we are. So I'm optimistic and believe it's going to be it's bright and yeah.
Well, I'm going to ask the audience too. Please pick the image that you think best illustrates your view of the future. I mean, I like the lightning strike because when we live in Singapore apparently has the highest per capita of lightning strikes in the world. So it is super, super, sparkly in Singapore. All right. So finally, what's the one thing that you are doing to strengthen your business for the future? Beyond the black hole, beyond the rainbow, beyond Changi Airport. Rajeev, what are you doing to ensure survival? To strengthen your business?
So, like I said, Siew, this year, the focus has been on solving some of the debts that we knew we were always sitting with, but in hindsight, not having enough time, not really prioritizing, I think that meant, we were continuing to live with some of the problems that was very well identified. So eliminating them has been one of the big, focus areas. And two, I would say is making investments into some of the areas as far as the air travel is concerned, which has been long ignored. And this crisis has given an opportunity to kind of, bring in that leveler as far as the industry itself is concerned, and invest in areas around payments, for example, as airline settlements take 21 days on average for an airline to receive money. So, investing in areas of product for us, which combines the capability that we sit with as a distribution business and taking that all the way to payments is one of the big investments that we're currently doing to strengthen and be relevant for the future.
Oh, excellent. Jinmyeong, what are you doing to strengthen your business?
As I mentioned, until the demand for overseas travel recovers, we are focusing on our domestic business. We also believe that it's an opportunity to introduce our service to more Korean travelers with the shift toward domestic travel. So by shifting to domestic travel, we can acquire more customers, and we plan to retain these customers once overseas travel resumes in the post-Corona era. Furthermore, And
So
also,
actually, yeah, it's actually fascinating because this forced move for you into domestic really has, to me, will position you so strongly when Koreans are allowed to travel again, because now you also have got brand equity at home as well as abroad. So can I ask you, I'm going to put you on the spot. When do you think, I mean, Korea is like the second biggest outbound market for Asia, right?
yes.
So when do you expect Korea borders to open so that you can come and visit us again, Jinmyeong?
It is really hard to really hard to answer the question, but I think since these days Korean government started to have a discussion with Taiwan, and I think Vietnam,
Singapore as well.
Singapore as well, talking about travel bubble. So when if the policy goes well, I think hopefully at the end of this year we might be able to travel abroad, Asian countries. But that's our hope. But we cannot say for sure.
Yeah, we hope so, because so far the bubbles have been quite a disappointment. They've sort of they've popped before they even took off. So, Nicholas, there's a question for you from the audience.
Sure.
Or it's a difficult one. What startup will survive the current storm? Do you think these three panelists with you will survive?
I've got no doubt they will. and I think what I was going to say was that contributing to the ecosystem, I think, is something that everyone today is doing, and something that makes a huge difference for us all to survive. And so I think those people, like the guys on the panel today, and you, Siew, who do that and who contribute to the ecosystem, will be there at the end.
Okay. And the second question is, what startups would you invest in? What kind of startups would thrive in the new normal that you would invest in?
Well, I've mentioned earlier some of the things.
There's three.
Come and see us for sure. Although we're fairly early stage, so it sounds like most of these guys have passed beyond the stage which we would look at.
All right. Did I ask Stephanie? Yeah, what are you doing to strengthen your business? So you made a couple of acquisitions. So there must be lots
in
of
2017 and 2019. Yes, we did.
All right. So there are opportunities for acquisitions right now. There must be, right?
Yeah, I can't say much, but I think there are opportunities because, as you said, there's a lot of there's an emotional quotient of surviving COVID, and I think not only do you need to be resilient, but you have to really be passionate enough to stick it through the next few years, because we are going to see. I think 2021 will be somewhat of a washout. It won't be easy. You can expect some return in 2022. So as I've told most of my team, we'll be lean. There's a little bit more of suffering, but at the end, it's like your picture. There is a rainbow at the end of this, and it's probably a better opportunity for us than if it wasn't, although it's not very fun.
I know. Well, we look forward to crossing the rainbow with all of you. Jinmyeong to the black hole and beyond. Nicholas to Changi Airport, that rainbow over Changi Airport, and Rajeev, to what did you pick? You picked the black hole too, the positive lights at the end.
No,
so thank you very much.
The rainbow.
Everybody, all of us are rainbows. Wonderful. All right, so let's go grab that pot of gold at the end. Thank you very much, Nicholas, Rajeev, Stephanie, and Jinmyeong. Wishing you the best. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.